Hey guys, welcome to 3 and Out. You can check out the podcast below in the description. And here's what I need you to do. Make sure you subscribe to the Volumes YouTube channel to stay up to date to everything we're doing here on 3 and Out and the Volume. Okay. My man Stucky is hot. 4-2 on the year. The Indy game was close last week, but it covered. Now we're into week 3 already. It's crazy. Once the NFL season starts, it gets going fast. You can catch him every week. Action Network podcast comes out Thursday morning. Gambling galore, picks galore. And clearly, if you follow this guy's words of wisdom, you'll pick winners. So, Stucky, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on? Yeah, I think as far as the show picks have gone, probably adjust result. We probably should have covered that New England game in week 1, if not for a couple of fumbles. And then we got a bit lucky with the Colts. I know they failed in the red zone, but we got a little butt fumble on a punt that helped us out late. So anything you can do to get to the window, I'll take.
Stucky, the best part about the butt fumble is the dude that was hit by the ball, like the punt protector, didn't even flinch, and he sprinted to go cover the kick. It's like, bro,
I saw that.
The ball just hit you. What do you think? You think it landed in the punter's hands? But he just was so locked in.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to be a football player, and he was a robot there. But
that's gonna hurt his awareness factor on Madden, I would assume.
Yeah, it is. Okay, well, week 3 NFL season already feels like it's rocking and rolling. I think pretty good slate of games this week. Where do you want to start?
Well, as you know, it's week 2 and week 3. We're still learning a lot about these teams. So a lot of times I'm just selling or buying the market over reactions and underreactions. So my betting cards are ugly as sin, generally speaking. A lot of ugly dogs in the first couple of weeks. So we can start with the ugliest one on the board, which I think would be the Jacksonville Jaguars plus 7.5. Look, before the lines came out, I was praying to the gambling gods to put this line out at 6.5 and let it sit there all week, because then I wouldn't bet it. But per my numbers, I had to take 7.5 here. Look, Jacksonville, I will not tell you anything good that Jacksonville has done. This is just a pure number play. It's also just a bad spot for Arizona. They're 2-0. They escaped that win over Minnesota. I think they're a little overvalued now. I think that week 1 game said more about Tennessee, but now they're going, across the country to play an out-of-conference game before they have on deck. They have the Rams and 49ers. So I'm not a huge Kingsbury guy. I can see them being just not focused, undisciplined here. And you just have to hope that Trevor Lawrence settles in a little bit. He should feel more comfortable going from a Fangio defense to Arizona's defense. And if you look back since 2003, if you look at all the trends of teams that are 0-2 against the spread and are underdogs, 0-2 outright, they've lost their first 2 games and then are underdogs, they're all about 60%. It's only happened 5 times since 2003 where a team is 0-2 and catching over 7 points at home, which is kind of a rarity in the NFL. And generally speaking, you're on the right side if you back that home dog. You're about 55% overall for a home dog over 7 points. But here's the 5 quarterbacks that you would have had a back in this spot in the past. Some will remember Stafford when the Lions beat the Patriots by like 18. It's Patricia's highlight. It was all downhill from there. I think that game was on primetime. Before then, it was Charlie Fry, Kerry Collins with the Colts, Jeff Blake, and Mike Glennon. All five covered, 3-1 outright. And all 5 games were coin flips, and all those teams combined won no more than 5. Neither of those teams won more than 5 games. So this is still an NFL team. Even though I'm not a fan of what Urban Meyer's doing, Trevor Lawrence has looked bad. I had to take the number. I'm taking the 7.5. Bad spot for Arizona. Catching a touchdown at home. I hope it doesn't end bad again.
What's crazy is I'm someone who thinks Urban Meyer right now is probably a bottom 5 head coach in the league. He's obviously a really great college coach, but the NFL, I think he's over his head. He just told Fangio it's like playing Alabama every week. It's not like he's playing, the Packers and the 49ers in Seattle. So he's even in for a bigger eye-opener.
Hey, you got to play the Texans week 1.
Yeah, great point. But if you remember, and I know you do, but Arizona last year would play up for opponents that when they played Seattle, when they would play the Rams, when they would play the Niners, they played fantastically like they did week 1 against Tennessee. and then they would play lesser opponents, and it would be a completely different squad. So it's almost like you're shorting their culture because clearly they can score a lot of points. The East Coast game, I would just putting actual money on the Jags would be would keep the heart pounding. But I'm with you. I think it's the right bet. Okay, game number 2. You want to go?
Yeah.
Let's go. You want to go AFC South? Little playoff game here.
Yeah, we're going to go from Trevor Lawrence, these quarterbacks are just going to get uglier and uglier, to potentially Carson Wentz might play. We're going to take the Colts plus 5.5 at Tennessee. Carson Wentz might play as 2 beat up ankles, or you might see 2 quarterbacks. You might see Jacob Eason. You might see Brett Hundley in there. They were sharing snaps. Who knows what you're going to get? I don't think – look, I have these 2 teams about even from a power ratings perspective, and home field in the NFL is almost meaningless these days. And I don't think the drop-off – Wentz has been serviceable, but I don't think the drop-off is that enormous, crossing a 3 and a 4 to get you to 5.5. This Tennessee defense, we've talked about in this show, as major issues, one of the worst in the NFL. I think Indianapolis, their offensive line is starting to gel and get healthier, should be able to control the clock here, move the ball on the ground. They have a couple intangible advantages here, too. I like their staff, which has gone into Tennessee the last 3 years and won outright. I like that, their special teams have an advantage. This Tennessee defense is going to keep you in games. Divisional, desperate dog here on the road with a good staff that I think will have them prepared. I'm taking the 5.5 points in a game that, if you look at the Colts' next couple games, I mean, this game could be for the Colts season. I think that Wentz might try to give it a go, and who knows how many different quarterbacks you'll see, but I think that they're going to rely on their ground game. They'll have a good defensive game plan, and I think they can keep this close.
I think I'm with you because if you lose, if you're Indy, you'd be 0-3, and so you'd be 2 games back of Tennessee, and they'd already beat you. And then, like you said, the schedule coming up, it'd be over. It'd be over early.
Lights.
And it's clear with Tennessee, for them to win, Henry has to turn into a Hall of Fame back, which he did last week, which he's done in the past. It's a little harder against Indy's front 7, right? You don't expect him to just, I know it's at home, but run for a $150 plus, which puts them in the best position to win. So but I read a headline, and I know you just mentioned it. Brett Hundley, what if he has to start? That seems pretty nuts. If you tell me Brett Hundley's starting, a little like betting on Jacksonville, it is hard to put money on a Brett Hundley team against, Tennessee's been a playoff team the last couple of years.
Yeah, I'm hoping the Brett Hundley starting means he's handing it off and throwing very easy passes against this soft secondary and not trying to throw any deep outs or anything like that. But it's definitely scary, and that's built into the line. But I'll side with the divisional dog. 2 teams very familiar with each other, 2 staffs that have gone at it for 3 years. I still think Tennessee has some issues. Look, they broke out. They were down 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter last. Yeah. And then Henry had that huge run. And so, I mean, they've played 1.5 really good quarters. Maybe they're all the way back, but what's not going to be back is their defense. And Indianapolis should be able to move the ball on the ground, control the clock, sustain some drives, and I think this game stays close.
This last game, when you sent over the pick, surprised me a little bit. Tell me about what you're seeing in Vegas.
Yeah, I took Miami plus 4. Again, we're going from potentially Brett Hundley and Trevor Lawrence to now Jacoby Brissett. Again, I think this is an overreaction to what we saw the Raiders do over the first 2 weeks. They upset the Ravens in a game they were down, 17-7 in the fourth quarter. I mean, they were down and out, and just a crazy turn of events, and they end up winning that game. Look, credit to them, and Derek Carr is playing great. Then they go to Pittsburgh on a short week and win, but that Pittsburgh offense is a mess. Then they had a bunch of defensive injuries on the other side. Typical Mike Tomlin loss after the upset on the road. And now they come back west, and now they're favored by 4 points. Last year, these 2 teams played in late December. Miami was a 2.5-point favorite in a game they won by 1 because Fitzpatrick had to come in and save the day. They had no receivers for that game. I mean, none. Parker was out, and they've since added Will Fuller, who will be available this week, and then drafted Waddle. They were 2.5-point favorites. I'm not and look, I bet the Raiders in that game, but I'm not the biggest Tua guy. I think that eventually he'll be good, but he's still, just if you look at his average depth of target and how he's reading defense, he still has a lot of work to do. This is a huge overreaction because I don't think the drop-off is that far. You're getting just an inflated Vegas number after 2 upsets over the Steelers and Ravens. And look, I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. Miami will come up with a good defensive game plan. And the Raiders defense is better because of their new defensive coordinator, their better coach. They added some pieces, but you can still attack them in pockets. I just think this is an overreaction to the quarterback injury for the Dolphins, which I don't think it's that big of a deal. Tua hasn't been lighting, the world on fire at quarterback, and what Vegas has done over the first 2 weeks. Meanwhile, Miami's coming off of losing 35-0. Teams that have not covered by 28 or more points the week before, 63% against the spread historically the next week. So I expect a bounce back performance here from Miami. Wouldn't be surprised, if this is a field goal game either way, the 2017 lower scoring game. So yeah, I'm trusting Jacoby Brissett here.
Which makes sense, right? You lose by 28 points, which is an absolute ass-kicking in the NFL. You're going to come back and show a little moxie, a little fight.
The market wants to send the market. The general market might oversell you after that happens as well.
For sure. So it adds up. Miami's offensive line has been terrible. They've scored 17 points all season. Jacoby is not a great athlete. So now Vegas isn't exactly rolling out Howie Long and Khalil Mack, but like you said, their defense has been better. I just wonder if they can't block anybody, he's kind of a sitting duck. But the Dolphins do have a couple good DBs. The Raiders wide receivers have been playing well. That should neutralize that a little bit. Vegas, could they be feeling themselves a little bit, right? I mean, most people, when I looked at that schedule, I thought, hell, they're going to be 0-2. And now they're 2-0. Everyone's kind of anointing them. Kind of nuts. They're only 2-0 teams in the AFC, and they're obviously one of them in Denver. So, this feels a little bit like a trap. I could see a little bit like the Arizona game. Is it fair to say the public is going to be hammering Arizona and hammering Vegas this week?
Oh, yeah. You'll probably, I don't know. I'll be on an island with Jacksonville for sure. And I think the majority of bets will not as much of a split as we'll see in Jacksonville, but I think the majority of the bets will be on Vegas. Jacoby Brissett, everyone has seen what Vegas has done. But like I said, this was Miami minus 2.5 last December in Vegas. And I mean, granted, there were no fans, but Miami didn't have the top 3 receivers it has now. And I just don't think that there's a massive drop off between Tua and Brissett, where this line should now be 4. Yeah, the Raiders are improved, but that's a big move. And, if this line was maybe, what I make it is, Vegas a little over a 2-point favorite, 2.5. If this was right there or 3, I wouldn't touch it. But now you're going to give me 4, a key number in the NFL. I'm taking it, and I'm hoping for some Miami turnover luck. They tend to get on the right side of turnovers more often than not. So hopefully that's on my side.
Before you leave, I just want to ask about one more game. I know I didn't tell you about this before, but the Niners hosting the Packers 2 years ago when they were both good, the Niners kicked their ass twice. Last year, that Thursday night game, you remember the Niners had all those false positives. So Trent Williams, Brandon Ayuk, all those guys were out. Jimmy was out. They were bad. But I think the two teams playing well has more kind of parallels to 2 years ago when they were both good and they met in the NFC Championship, and the Niners just kind of shoved them around. I'm watching the Packers, even in their one win, they look a little off. I kind of like the Niners, to cover again in this week.
Yeah, last year, Mullins started, and I forget that receiver's name who had like 200 yards receiving for them. He had like 15 catches. So one of their receivers went off, who doesn't start now. It's going to kill me not remembering that. But yeah, from a scheme perspective, you could throw out last year. From a scheme perspective, this heavily favors San Francisco. This is the type of team that they just run all over. Like Shanahan lives to scheme up a game plan to take advantage of this soft Green Bay defense, which just can't really defend the run. We saw it in week 1 when, look, the Saints just ran at will over the Packers. And last week, Detroit had success running against Green Bay. So, yeah, I agree with you. The one thing that does scare me is San Fran's secondary kind of beat up going against Aaron Rodgers. I'm curious to see how San Fran plays this. In the past, a lot more cover 1, cover 3. But you saw the Saints 2 deep shell. Look, we'll just take away Devonta Adams and what Rodgers likes to do deep, and we'll let you beat us underneath. And the Lions took the same thing. Yeah, and they the first week 1, Aaron Gunn played cover 1, cover 3, and was blitzing, changed his whole approach. I'm curious to see if the 49ers take that same approach with their beat-up secondary, and they have the linebackers and defensive linemen that the Lions don't to, match up with Aaron Jones, who just took advantage, and credit to the Packers for being patient. But, yeah, I think from a scheme perspective, this is a dream matchup for San Fran, their offensive line, and what Kyle Shanahan wants to do, especially if they get out to a lead early.
Stuckey, you the man. Action Network podcast every Thursday morning. Have a good weekend, bro.
Absolutely. Good luck, brother.
Thanks for watching 3 and Out. You can check out the podcast below in the description, and make sure you subscribe right now to the Volumes YouTube channel.